Probably one of the most confusing parts of Medicare would be Part D plans. And so what I'm going to do during this brief video is talk about the cost of the plans and the coverage. In other words, how these plans work. Welcome to Medicare School Daily, where we help you understand Medicare, save money, avoid making Medicare mistakes, and above all else, get the most out of your Medicare benefits. Now, today's topic is understanding Medicare Part D plans, prescription drug plans. So first off, you need to understand that not all medications are going to be covered by Medicare. Medicare covers most prescriptions drugs, but not all prescriptions. Medicare doesn't cover any type of medication that would be a natural type of a med. It's not going to cover things that are going to be supplements. It's going to have to be something that would be a synthetic medication. And so not all medications are covered. I've had clients before that had what's called irritable bowel syndrome. And there may be 7 different meds available, but Medicare is only going to cover maybe 4 of those meds. So just because you're taking it now doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be available for you once you go on Medicare. Now, more than likely, yes, you will be able to get it, but not always. And so we want to make sure you understand that Medicare has not approved all medications to be on the plans. Number 2, very important, not all medications will be in every plan's formulary. When you get a prescription drug plan, the most important decision is to make sure your medications are covered. And so there will be in any given market anywhere from 15 to maybe 30 different drug plans available. Every Advantage plan has the option of having an embedded drug plan. So when we look at plans and we make these decisions, the formulary is the most important decision. And so you have to understand that not every plan is going to have every medication. And so that's really what we're deciding. We're taking your medications and making sure to see if we can find a formulary where those meds are going to be covered, because formularies are going to vary in size. Some plans may cover 3,500 medications. Another plan formulary may have 5,000 meds. Another one may have 7,000 meds. So when you see price variations within the premiums of drug plans, it's because of the size of the formulary. All right. And so that's why not all medications are covered in every single plan. Thirdly, copay cards are usually, notice we underline usually, void on Medicare. Many of you that are covered by employer plans or maybe individual plans and you're not yet 65, you may have a copay card for a very expensive medication that may retail for $2,000 or $5,000. You're getting that for a $5 copay or $25 copay. Almost always, those plans become void once you're on Medicare. In fact, you read the fine print or you read on the back of the card or at the bottom of the card, it'll usually say these cards are no longer valid once you're on Medicare. Now, there may be a way to get your meds at a reduced cost, but that may be through foundations or some kind of a pharmaceutical assistance plan of the state, or maybe the manufacturer has some kind of a plan. But usually copay cards are going to be void once you go on Medicare. And then fourthly, out-of-pocket expenses, meaning what you pay, we call those copays, can change throughout the year. This is one of the most confusing and the biggest surprises that people have when they go on Medicare. They realize that their copays fluctuate throughout the year. And the reason for that is because Medicare has 4 potential stages, and each of these stages that you go through can result in a different copay. All right, so to understand that, you really have to understand the different stages. Now, before I show you those stages, I want to make just a quick comparison. If you right now are covered by an employer-provided plan or you have an individual plan, you don't have 4 stages on your plan. That's only Medicare plans. Group plans and individual plans below 65 have 1 stage. So what happens in those plans, group plan and individual plans below 65, is a medication's covered, usually has a tiering number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that tier number lets us know what our copay is. And so if I'm on that plan, let's say I have a tier 1 at $5 or a tier 3 at $50 copay. That copay on those plans will be fixed throughout the whole year. Again, group plans and individual plans, fixed copays, 1-stage plans. So my $5 copay doesn't change throughout the year, or my $50 copay doesn't change throughout the year. But when you go on Medicare, Medicare has 4 stages. So that means I could have the same medication that the copay could change up to 4 times in 1 year. So Medicare copays fluctuate. Group plans and individual plans are fixed. So let's understand real quickly the stages that you go through. First off, we have a deductible stage. Stage 1, that means that our copays are applied to the deductible. Now, I'm recording this video in 2022. You may be watching it now or next year, but the whole point is every year Medicare sets a deductible. This year, in 2022, that deductible is $480. Doesn't mean you have to show up and write a check necessarily for $480. It just simply means that your copays are applied to the deductible. And if we ever reach that deductible, this year $480, then we would be done in stage 1 and we would move to stage 2. But if my copays never reach the deductible, I never go beyond stage 1. I stay in that stage. But if I reach my deductible, then I go to stage 2. This is called the initial coverage stage. This is when you just simply have a very reasonable copay. And so we pay copays for our medications. But what's happening is you pay your copay, behind the scenes, Medicare is tracking the full retail cost of the medication. You didn't pay full retail, you paid a copay. And the difference in that retail cost was covered by the insurance company. So in this stage, what they're doing, they, meaning Medicare, along with the pharmacy, they're tracking the full retail cost, what the insurance company paid and when you pay combined. And if that number ever reaches a certain dollar amount, it's a total amount retail, not your cost, but retail. If it ever reaches that dollar amount, that's called the threshold. The threshold this year is $4,330. So if I reach in retail cost, $4,330, not your cost, but total retail, if I reach that number, $4,330, then I will be done in this stage and I will move to the next stage. Now, the fact is 95% of all people never go beyond stage 1 or stage 2. But about 5% of the Medicare population will finally reach that retail threshold. And when they do, they go to stage 3, which is officially by Medicare called the coverage gap. Layman's, we call it the donut hole. And while we're in the donut hole, what's going to happen is we're going to pay a flat 25% of the retail cost of the medication in the donut hole. Again, only 5% of all people get there, but those who are there in this stage will pay 25% of the retail cost. So if I'm on a medication that retails for $100 in the donut hole, it'll cost me $25 copay. If I'm taking a medication that retails for $500, I'll have a copay of $125. And so we pay 25% of the cost in the donut hole. Now they track a whole new number in the donut hole. That is $7,050. Only 1% of all the Medicare population gets there, so I'm not even going to go into that in this video. But the point is, if I ever get to that $7,050 number, then I am done in the donut hole, in the coverage gap, and then I would go to stage 4, which is called catastrophic coverage. Now here, everyone's happy. Medications are dirt cheap because here in stage 4, my copay is a flat 5% of whatever the retail cost of the medication is. Okay, so I just pay 5%. So that's why I can be on one medication that if I move all the way through the stages because of that retail cost, my copay can change 4 different times throughout the year. Now, the likelihood, most of you would never see the donut hole or catastrophic. Only 5% of all people do. Only 1% ever even get to catastrophic. All right, so that's what makes the whole Medicare Part D plan so confusing, because we have stages, group plans and individual plans, 1 stage. Medicare has 4 stages. And notice these reset every January. So we may hit the donut hole in July, or we may hit the donut hole in November, or we may hit it in February, whenever we hit it. And then we're going to start all those stages over again the following year. All right, so that's the way those work. And then also want to make sure you understand, as we talk about cost and coverage, that Medicare has this very important opportunity for you to be able to change your drug plan if you need to. That opportunity is called the Medicare annual enrollment period. Those dates are very specific. It's etched in stone every October 15th through December 7th. If you want to change your drug plan, or you want to change your Advantage plan that has a drug plan included, this is when you have to do it. So here's the process of changing, because about 15 to 20% of the Medicare population will change their drug plan on an annual basis. And so what's going to happen in this process is whatever drug plan you're on this year will mail you a packet of information called an ANOC. That stands for annual notice of change. They'll have that mailed to you. You'll receive it around the 15th of October. And now you have the next 7 weeks to review the plan and see if you need to switch the plan. And so what you're looking for when this annual notice of change comes is you're looking for changes. Now listen, there are people all the time that get the ANOC and they just throw it away. They assume that because they like their plan this year, they'll like it next year. Never do that, because Medicare gives that company, that insurance Part D plan, the right to change anything they want. You may like the plan this year, but you may hate it next year. And that's why that annual notice of change is important. Open it up, see what they're doing. And so what could they do? Well, number one, they could change the premium. And every now and then we'll see a company drastically raise the premium. I've seen them double the price or triple the price. And so you may like the premium this year, but you may not like it next year. They will disclose that in the annual notice of change. Number two, you're going to make sure that all your medications are still covered. Why? Because Medicare gives those companies the right to change the formulary. They can add meds, they can drop meds, and so they can change that formulary. So if there's a formulary change, if you don't know about it, you may be very disappointed when you go to pick up your prescription on the new plan in January and you realize that medication is no longer covered. And so that's, again, why you open the ANOC to see if your medications are still covered. And then lastly, you're going to make sure that your meds have not been re-tiered. Medicare plans, like group plans and individual plans, will have every medication that they're going to cover be given a tiering number. It's usually tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that tiering number lets you know what your copay is in that stage 2. And so what happens is from year to year, those companies can re-tier a medication. 1 year it may be a tier 2 and they bump it to a tier 4, or it's a tier 3, they bump to a tier 5. And I have seen tiering changes like that raise the copay about $150, $175 every single month. So now a medication that was reasonable 1 year because it's been re-tiered is now going to be very expensive. All right, so you got to be watching for these changes. So if we have something that is hurting us with the change the company's made, then you're going to switch the plan. We just have to make sure that that switching is done by December 7th. All drug plans are for 1 calendar year, just like Advantage plans. 1 calendar year. And if we want to switch those plans, that we have 7 weeks towards the end of the year where we make the decision to switch, but that new plan that we have selected will not go into effect until the following January 1st. All right. And so it's very important to make sure that you know that if you need to switch the drug plan, this is when we need to do it. And again, many will not need to. So if we've gone through the ANOC, we're still happy with the plan, premium's fine, meds are still covered, everything is tiered properly, then you do nothing. The plan will automatically renew without you doing anything whatsoever. All right, but if you need to switch, then this is the time that we need to do it. So this is the way in which Part D plans work differently than your group plans and individual plans. So once you go on Medicare, you got to live with these particular guidelines. Hey, thanks so much for watching the video, and I do hope that it was helpful. Now, if you feel like you need to learn more about Medicare to make sure you're making the right Medicare decision, really the best way and the easiest way to do that is to go to MedicareSchool.com. That's MedicareSchool.com, and you'll be given the opportunity to click on Get the Free Workshop. We call that the Essentials Workshop, and I do all the teaching, and there you'll learn all the ins and outs of Medicare to make sure that you have an accurate and thorough understanding of how Medicare works. The second thing you can do is click where it says Talk to a Medicare Guide, and there you can actually set up a time where you can discuss your situation with a Medicare guide. They'll explain all your options, and they'll actually even walk you through the enrollment process as well if that's what you need to do. And so go to MedicareSchool.com, watch the workshop, or talk to a Medicare guide. It would be our privilege to assist you further.